Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice day. You too. Should I lock it? No. Okay. Who's there? Um, there are a couple of people there right now. Okay, let's get started. I think give it another minute. And I would then request everyone to just quickly introduce themselves. Say your name, where you're from, and what are you looking for in this workshop. It's going to be interesting. By the way, happy Valentine's Day to everyone. And you can unmute yourself and speak. I don't think you need my permission to unmute. You can do it yourself, I believe. It's a small, intimate group, and I'm really glad to do this workshop with you guys. So, Evelyn, I see you're online. Evelyn, Andrea, Lee, Monica. Okay. Who's that? Lee speaking or no?
Hi.
Hello. Hey, Lee. How
I'm
are you?
Lee.
Okay.
Very well, thank you.
Yeah. Where are you from? Oh, from Manchester,
New Hampshire, USA. Yep.
Wonderful. Excellently. Excellent. Welcome. Okay. And anybody else want to introduce themselves? Unmute and unmute and introduce.
My name is Andrea, and I am from San Francisco.
Nice. All right. You're my neighbor.
Yeah.
I'm in Millbrae.
Oh, yeah. So it's cold, foggy day today.
I know it is. I can see. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It always is, more, at least most of
Yep.
the time.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody else?
Hello, I'm Hanneke from the Netherlands.
All right. There we go. We are now becoming international now. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Welcome, Hanneke.
Hello, I'm Ursula.
Hi.
I'm Ursula from Johannesburg.
Johannesburg. Oh my gosh. Wonderful. That's quite a ways away. That's good.
Hello.
Welcome, Ursula.
Thank you.
Hello. I'm from my name's Marie, and I'm from London in England.
All right, Marie. Welcome. Welcome. Thank you for joining.
Hello, I'm Evelyn, Holland.
Evelyn, Holland. Excellent. Welcome. Anybody else? Lynn, I see you speaking, but I don't think I'm hearing you.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, Lynn.
Ah, super. Well, I'm Lynn from France, and I'm very happy to be here.
Excellent. Welcome, Lynn.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay, anybody else? Or should I get started now?
Haas, New York.
What's your name, sorry?
Haas.
Haas
New York.
from New York. Right, welcome, Haas. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen. And so what I think that the way I'm planning to do this is there's a presentation part, which is probably maybe going to be about 45 minutes to an hour at the most, probably 45. And then we will do some practice. And for that, it'll be really helpful if someone is willing to be the guinea pig. Because you got to experience it. So everybody can do it in their minds, but one person, at least one person, if we have more time, we'll do maybe two, but to show you the process that is quite effective in healing a lot of things. So it'll be good to see that or experience that even for somebody else, if somebody else is going through that process. So I'll work with one person and show you the process of how it works. So at the end of the presentation, let me know if you're interested in being the guinea pig. What it will require is for you to be really honest with yourself and with the group. And there will be whatever you're sharing at that time is going to get recorded and maybe actually shared with other people. So you just got to be okay with that. And if you're okay with that, you don't have to share anything extremely personal, but it does require for you to go inside and be really honest to yourself. And that's how the real healing happens. Okay, very good, my friends. Okay, so I'm going to get started. I'm going to share my presentation here. Okay, hang on. This is not the right slide. Go back here. Okay, excellent. So I'm assuming everybody can, oh no, wait, not, well, you got to see my screen before you can see it. Okay, workshop. Okay, I'm hoping everybody can see my presentation. If in case not, then feel free to put a chat, a text in the chat. Okay, so I'm assuming everybody can see my presentation okay? And here we go. Okay, let me hide this thing. Oh, sorry, one second. Okay, all right. Okay. Okay, so a little bit of history of spiritual evolution for humans. I think it's very important to have a basic understanding of that. So if you see for the last 2,000 years worldwide, the religion has dominated the field of spirituality. And there have been a key religions worldwide, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, just to name a few. But it has not been too many. There are a few religions worldwide that the whole humanity has revolved around. Yeah. And each of these religions, or most of these religions, they had some good aspects and some not so good aspects. The good aspects were that it introduced the concepts of God, faith, hope, love, forgiveness, and generosity. Now, the not so good aspects were the introduction of the concepts of guilt, sin, karma, fear of God, and hell. So both these aspects were useful in some way. Certainly the negative aspects were not very useful. And we can actually, if you have some religious background, you can see how the negative aspects have influenced your lives, like guilt and sin. They're not good for a human being. Then came the New Age spirituality, which I think most of you are a part of. I'm a part of it, and I'm sure you or everybody here is. And this New Age spirituality probably started very, very recently, maybe 20, 30, 40 years, something like that, not much. And things like, there are so many variations of the New Age spirituality, from law of attraction, Reiki, hypnotherapy, you name it. There's just so many varieties of it. And the New Age spirituality was actually popularized by the movie The Secret, right? I'm sure everybody's seen that. Again, the New Age spirituality has some good and some not so good aspects. The good aspects are, it introduced the concept of positive thinking and intentions. These are very powerful and good things. The not so good aspects were the suppression of the negative, something called spiritual bypass in psychology terms. The New Age spirituality, especially the law of attraction concepts, introduced a very serious problem as well. And this problem was not there before. So while the religion was fading to some degree from spirituality, or is fading to some degree, the New Age spirituality brought some good aspects, but they actually also introduced another problem. The New Age spirituality installed the idea in people's heads that if I visualize and think positive thoughts, I can get whatever I want easily and quickly. So think of it like a gambling or a Las Vegas kind of mindset. That I can make a lot of money or I can get whatever I want sitting on my couch and visualizing. Right? This is an idea that a lot of people have picked up, including myself. I've had that for some time, I guess, at some point. So I call New Age spirituality version 1.1. If the previous religion was spirituality 1.0, now I think the New Age is 1.1 in my mind. It is marginally better than old religion in terms of its effectiveness in improving people's lives. It's only marginally better. Now, I'm hoping through some of my work, and like the workshop I'm doing today, I can take the spirituality to a whole new level, not just the same stuff rehashed, not rehashing version 1 and version 1.1, but a completely different paradigm of healing. So it does mean that we may have to give up many of the old concepts we learned in order to create space for new ways of thinking and evolving. And I truly believe that many people on the spiritual path these days have outgrown the current model of spirituality 1.1, the New Age spirituality. And I believe they are all ready for spirituality 2.0, the next version, which is a big paradigm shift, I would say. So I just wanted to give a brief historical background just to see where we are coming from and where we are going. But keep in mind, we have a lot of ideas from 1.0 and 1.1 from spirituality. So going to 2.0 is not always easy because it interferes with the previous concepts. Just as an example, the idea of forgiveness is very deeply rooted in spirituality 1.0, right? Jesus Christ forgave people who were crucifying him. So that whole story of Jesus Christ built into human consciousness the ideas of martyrdom and forgiveness. And it is very, very deeply rooted. And even spirituality 1.1 has a lot about forgiveness. And forgiveness, while it is a beautiful concept, an important one, but can be extremely harmful for the wrong people. Wrong people in the sense, everybody is at a different point in journey. And if you tell this person who is not ready for forgiveness to start forgiving, it will actually start backfiring. And it'll actually cause more harm than good to that person. So one size does not fit all, as the old saying says. Now, spirituality 2.0 that I'm trying to spearhead to some degree, the fundamental theme of spirituality 2.0 is that of individuation. Individuation. Until now, we were all followers of something or the other. A blacksmith's son was a blacksmith, a cobbler's son was a cobbler. A Christian son became a Christian. But the human consciousness is now saying, I don't want to be in this cookie cutter mode. Now I want to create my own path and my own life. What I want to do should not be determined by what my parents were doing. We don't want to follow our parents or ancestors. We want to be individuals. However, this path of divergence creates serious issues that are not addressed by previous versions of spirituality. Let me repeat that because it's important. This path of divergence from the old spirituality, ancestors, parents, creates new serious challenges that are not addressed by the previous versions of spirituality. And that's the whole reason why I'm creating a different framework which will make possible for us to grow into the next evolutionary state of our human consciousness. And this is the workshop that I'm trying to address. In this workshop, I'm trying to address this particular individuality aspect. Okay, let's get started with the actual presentation now. So let me tell you a truth, almost a shocking truth, that when I realized this, I was quite actually shocked with that. If you look at it, if you think about this carefully, every single challenge that you have ever encountered in your life or will encounter in the rest of your life originates from a single belief that you pick up between the age of 2 and 3. Not before 2 and not after 3. And this is a really important realization that once I got, I said, oh my good Lord, this is huge. A single belief is the source of all your challenges in life. And this is a belief that we pick up exactly between the ages of 2 and 3. Any chronic health issues, any relationship issue, any financial issue, any and all emotional or physical issues originate from this one single belief. And I've seen this over and over again in my healing work for my own self and with my clients. Let me give you a very quick example. A woman who was around 45 when she came to me, she crippled down from an accident. She fell down, injured her spinal cord, and the doctor said she'll never be able to walk again because she had damaged the spinal cord. And we started to work together, and within 6 months, she was completely healed. She was walking again. And in all the work that we did together, there was one belief we discovered that set her on a trajectory of this crippling. Between the age of 2 and 3, she learned or picked up a belief that my father does not love me. As simple, as benign as this one belief, that my father does not love me. This belief started to mold her destiny because one day she fell down, after the age of 3, she fell down somewhere and the father came running, gave her a lot of hugs and kisses. And her subconscious said, okay, this is my way to get the love and attention of my father. So she forgot about this. Of course, she was too little at that time. So she just, over a period of time, she kept on upping the game. Right? So because the next time she fell down, the father gave her love, but not that much of love. So she said, okay, I need to increase my injury. And now you can guess, she reached a point of an accident that crippled her. So I'm just telling you this power of a single belief, what it can do to human body and mind. Okay. Uh, Now, some of you may say that how is this even possible? One belief or thought pattern creating myriads of different challenges in life. How can that be? Well, if you think about it, a giant oak tree with millions of leaves comes from a single acorn, right? It starts with a single acorn. Now, this is really good news, actually. If somehow, let's say, we are able to fix that one belief, single belief, then all our life challenges can be fixed at the same time, or at least start to fix at the same time. Rather than try to solve one problem at a time, which can take lifetimes to heal, won't it be much easier and faster to solve all problems at once by healing that one single belief? And the spirituality 1.0 and 1.1 do not address this. They're all addressing things that are more manifested in nature. So that was the good news was we can get a lot of things solved at the same time by solving one problem, one belief. The bad news is that we are not mentally trained to think this way. Our consciousness is mentally not trained. We are not trained with this idea. We are trained to see the problems that are visible to us, right? So if there is let's say, a health issue, then if you've got a headache, you run to the pharmacy to get a Tylenol or any other method to heal the headache. We rarely are trained to see the root of that headache. What is causing that headache at the deepest level of our consciousness? We are not trained to see it that way. So while we are trying to fix the symptoms, the root will keep on existing and it will keep coming back. That's the problem. So we are trained to see the leaves of the tree, but not the roots that are feeding the leaves. So we spend lifetime after lifetime spraying one leaf at a time, trying to fix one problem at a time. And it doesn't even fix it, because we can fix the symptom, just like modern medicine does, but internally, the root problem still exists. And that is why people go in circles. I've done it many, many years, and I see so many clients who are going through the same process. I hear this over and over again. I've been working on myself for 30, 40 years, and I'm still at the same place, or even worse sometimes. And I tell them the reason is that you can heal the symptoms. Unless we heal the root, the problem will not go away, it will come back. So this is what my presentation is about. This is the problem that I just described. And I'll talk about the solution. But let me give you a very short introduction about me. Very short. So I was born and raised in India. I grew up in a highly dysfunctional family. I felt lonely, isolated, depressed, and terrified. However, fortunately, I developed a deep interest in spirituality at a very young age. I got to meet many spiritually advanced teachers in my life. And I was actually very blessed to have been personally taught by some of the greatest self-realized teachers in the world has ever seen. On the left-hand side is one of my main teachers, Goswami Kriyananda, who was in the lineage of Yogananda Paramahansa, which some of you may know is the author of the world-famous book, Autobiography of a Yogi. It's a fascinating book if you get a chance to read it, or if you have not read it. And then I came to the US in 1990 to get my master's in computer science. I worked at Motorola for 16 years after that. And I was a pioneer one of the pioneers in the development of 3G and 4G cellular technologies. So if you remember those cell phones that Motorola came with initially, the flip phones and whatnot. Then I became tired of the corporate world and I decided to make my passion my profession. I've done over 100,000 hours of meditation and spiritual research in this lifetime alone. I discovered at the age of 7 that I had some special powers and healing capabilities, which I have developed over many, many years of work. Now, going back to the presentation, let me define the problem a little bit more. The previous thing that I described about the problem was at a very high level. We need to go a little bit deeper than that. And as they say, knowing the problem is half the solution, right? Identity. It's a key word. It's a really important word. What is our identity? What is identity? It is our deep-seated identity that creates all challenges and all blessings in our life. It's the I am. Our deep-seated I am is the magnet that attracts things into our reality, which some of you are probably, I'm sure, aware of. The soul, our soul is the core of our being. It is the divine self which gives us life. Without the soul, there is no life, right? We are the soul. On top of the soul is a layer of I am for this incarnation. Each soul takes an incarnation in this lifetime, putting on some clothes, so to speak. Now take a moment to become aware of some of your identities that you came in this lifetime. What kind of clothes did your soul decide to wear for this lifetime? You may have chosen to be a man or a woman physically. That's a cloth you're wearing. Then you may have chosen to have a family and become a mother or a father. Then you may have chosen a profession from millions of professions. You could be a doctor, teacher, nurse, firefighter. There are so many different professions. So you get the idea of identities that your soul picked up in this lifetime. Now, these are more visible identities. Then there are much more deeper identities as well. And we'll talk about those. On top of the I am layer is the energy body of a human being. On top of energy body is feelings layer. On top of feelings is the mental body. And on top of the mental body is the physical body. These are the various layers of consciousness, starting with the soul and ending up into a physical existence. Body, you can call it anything, but physical body, including your physical environment, is all combined into that physical manifestation. The soul is experiencing the physical based on all these layers. Meaning the physical existence is dependent on your mental layer, which is dependent on your feelings layer, and so on. It's very important to recognize that the physical manifestation of your life is dependent on all these layers. It's not independent of these. And that's good news as well. So if there's a problem in the physical body, we know where it's coming from, right? It's coming from the underlying layers. Now let's dissect the I am layer. I am layer is actually composed of 3 layers. Starting with the deepest one, which is the soul incarnation I am. This is not the part of the soul. It is, of course, part of everything is part of the soul, but it is a layer above the soul. So if the soul decided to incarnate in this life in a certain form and shape with certain properties, that is the layer of soul incarnation I am. So if, let's say, the soul decided to come to become, I don't know, a doctor, let's say, but due to various programmings in this lifetime, you became an engineer, then you're not in alignment with the soul incarnation I am. And it'll cause a lot of problems eventually. So that's what I mean by soul incarnation I am, is what did the soul decide to become in this lifetime? On the next layer of I am is the wounded I am. And the layer on top of it is coping I am. And I'm going to talk more about wounded I am and coping I am because they're very significant. Between the ages of 2 and 3, the child has no sense of separation. What does that mean? That means the child's consciousness thinks, believes, and feels that it is one with everything. It's one with the parents, it's one with the environment. It doesn't feel a separation. This also means that the child has no concept of its own identity. It doesn't know who it is because it's considering itself to be one with everything. Now, between the ages of 2 and 3, the child starts to experience its separation. It starts to get an idea that I'm actually separate from the environment, that I am not one with my parents, I'm a separate entity. It starts to get a glimpse of that. So think of it, imagine like you're seeing yourself, your face in the mirror for the first time. And you say, oh, this is who I am, right? What kind of an impression will it set up in your mind when you see yourself for the first time in the mirror? It will have a lasting impression, lifelong lasting impression, right? You have now recognized yourself to be this person. And that is who you start to really identify yourself with. Okay, this is me. Now, how does the child see its mirror image between the ages of 2 and 3? It sees itself through the eyes of the parents. That's the only way to reflect itself back in the mirror. So the parents are reflecting that you're loved, you're cared, you're precious. It will create a lasting and a permanent impression that I'm good, I'm valuable, and all that kind of good stuff. And 99% chances are the child will have a wonderful life. However, most of us did not have that get to be that fortunate, right? The parents were broken parents. They themselves were broken humans in that sense of brokenness. They had their own disturbances and that's the only thing they can reflect back to the child, their own distortion. So what they reflect back to the child is not a true image of the child. But that is the image that the child picks up and holds in their mind. This becomes their lifelong identity. Now, identities such as I am not safe, I'm not loved, I'm not good enough, I'm bad, I'm guilty, there's something wrong with me, etc., are the common wounded I ams. So if you remember the three layers or the sub layers of I am, the second layer is the wounded I am, and that's the layer that gets set up between the ages of 2 and 3, and it is very deeply rooted. And when such negative I ams get set up, what do you believe you will attract the rest of your life? Right? This wounded I am is what is going to attract all the negative stuff. If you pick up an identity that there's something wrong with me, well, guess what's going to happen? Throughout life, you'll be picking up something wrong, something that's not good for you. It's a magnet. Now it gets even more complicated. Because the wound is so painful that the child will not be able to survive with the wound, literally. And this is medically proven also to some degree that if the child is not loved, not held, let's say, for I think up to the age of 3 or something, the child will die. No, not even 3 is actually much younger than that. So for survival of a human being, it is critical that the child gets some sustenance in the form of safety, love, whatever you want to call it. Whatever their sustenance needs are, after the basic sustenance needs of air, water, and shelter, food and shelter. The emotional sustenance depends on some of the very basic things that without those sustenance elements, the child will have a really hard time surviving. And the human system, the entire human system is hardwired for survival. Hardwired. It will do anything to survive. That's how we have survived as a humanity till now. Imagine the initial parts of the human civilization. How many dangers did they have? They survived all that, one way or another. Ice ages and whatnot, some really harsh times. So we will do anything. We'll do anything to survive. So this is where the coping mechanism comes. So the trauma that happened between 2 and 3, and remember the trauma between 2 and 3 is not necessarily just getting hit on the head physically. It's even something very simple and subtle can be as devastating. So the only way to survive these traumas for the child is to disconnect the link between heart and the mind, or the emotions and the mental thinking, feelings and mental thinking. Because the wounded emotions are so painful to deal with, that the only solution child has available to survive is to disconnect the link between the two. Meaning, we learn to bury our feelings and emotions in order to survive. And it's a super important concept to remember. We bury our feelings and emotions in order to survive. So from this layers perspective, the mental body and the feelings layers, they get disconnected. We actually disconnect them. Now, on top of the wounded I am is the coping I am. And what does that mean? Coping I am is like a band-aid on top of the wound. And the band-aid works for years and decades to protect the wound. And it works really well, actually. But the unfortunate part is that we completely forget about the wound, and eventually the wound starts to fester inside. At some point in life, the wound comes out in very, very nasty ways. As a part of the coping and survival mechanism, something called personality adaptation comes in, a well-known concept in psychology. By the way, I'm highly trained in psychology as well. And I believe that's important to combine science and spirituality to create the next version of spirituality. What the personality adaptation means is we start to change our nature in order to fit in, to get some love, acceptance, and safety to survive. We learn arbitrary definitions of good and bad from society. We then learn to pretend. We pretend ourselves to be really good from outside and hide the negative. Have you seen people go to religious places, sing songs of devotion, pretend to be kind and loving, and come home and do really bad things? I've done it. So let me give you a short list of things I did to survive personally. My mother was narcissist, so this was a perfect camouflage for survival purposes. I took on the personality of weakness. Right? You try to fight a narcissist is like committing suicide. Get in trouble because that was the time I got my parents' attention. Illness, anger, complaining, martyrdom, perfection to please parents, hide, victim mindset. That's a pretty long list. Now, if you guys want to take a few seconds to think about what coping mechanisms did you apply to survive? And please remember, these coping mechanisms become so deep-rooted in our body and mind that we actually start to they come out in physical forms. And we'll revisit this later on. Now, as part of coping mechanisms, we start to cut off pieces of our being so that we can fit into the society. We disconnect from our feelings and emotions that are not acceptable by the society. So, for example, have you heard this thing parents have said, if you cry, I'll give you something to cry about? How do you think this will program the child? We start to seek perfection to meet the expectations of the parents of society. So this is not just the negative, it's sort of the negative. This is our reality, our real pieces we cut off. Even the good pieces we can start cutting off. More so the good pieces, actually. We cut off because they are not acceptable to the society. So like I was giving the example, if let's say somebody at a soul level came to become a doctor, but he became an engineer because the parents wanted him to become an engineer, this is one piece the child has cut off from its consciousness in order to fit in. And here I'm actually giving you the example of my own life. So each of these pieces that you cut off from your consciousness will come back to bite you eventually. Sometimes, or most of the times, in pretty nasty ways. Now watch this. This is really interesting analogy. So as part of our adaptation mechanisms, we cut off pieces, right? Imagine somehow you were able to take a photograph of the deeper layers of consciousness of this person who's cut off some pieces of themselves. Okay? if that photograph is taken of the consciousness, this is what it'll look like. Let's as an example, right? There are pieces missing from the entirety of the picture of the person, correct? Now here's the interesting, the scary, and the good news, all of it combined. The reality is that the physical body will eventually align with the deeper consciousness. There's no questions about that. The body is generated from consciousness, and it has to align with it. There's no other way. It's just the law of physics. So if there is a piece missing from the consciousness, eventually the body will be missing that piece eventually. So somebody had, let's say, cancer and their part of their organs are cut off. It is because that piece is missing from their consciousness, and eventually the body caught up to that. The reverse is also true, and that's the good news. That if, let's say, through the healing work, you integrate back those pieces of your consciousness, then the body will automatically regenerate that. Not right away, but over some time, it will regenerate those body parts. So that means the good news is there is no illness or physical problem of any kind, whether physical, mental, emotional, financial, relationship, whatever you want to call it, that is not healable. It's impossible. How to get there is a different question. But even this understanding that it has to, that's how consciousness works, that is good news. That gives us hope. That gives us something to keep fighting for. Let it sink into your minds for a second. It's a very deep realization. Now, a little bit more about the problem itself. So we live in a culture in which I'm including spirituality in it, where positivity and power are considered to be good, and weakness of any kind is looked down upon, right? Now, guess what happens to our weak parts? When the society looks down upon the weak parts, what's going to happen to those? Things like, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable enough, I'm not safe enough. When these parts are there, we tend to hide them. Hiding meaning we are cutting them off from our consciousness. So these undercurrents of emotions of the wound that reside in our consciousness are where we need to do the work. That's where healing comes in. It's an undercurrent. It's not visible. Sometimes it's so deep-rooted that we cannot see. Well, most of the times it's pretty deep-rooted. But that's exactly where the healing needs to happen. So 90 Deities, a psychologist by the name of John Wilward, came up with this term called spiritual bypassing. And he says, this says the use of spiritual practices and beliefs to avoid dealing with uncomfortable feelings, unresolved wounds, and fundamental emotional and psychological needs is what is called spiritual bypassing. So while positivity is wonderful, spiritual bypassing is not, for the reasons we just discussed. So if you look at it, the law of attraction thing, what does it teach you? To become positive, more joy, more fun, more money. But when you bring in positive, you're also simultaneously at times hiding the negative. You're suppressing the negative. And that's what creates problems. So true spirituality is really the journey of spirituality is when we bring in the light into our consciousness, the dark parts will get revealed and they will be very uncomfortable initially until you deal with them. But what we try to do is we try to put in light, and when the dark starts coming out, then we suppress harder, and we try to bring in more light, and it starts a very vicious cycle until we break down. Meaning we cannot reach our goals by burying our heads in the sand. What you bury will eventually come back to haunt you. One of my favorite psychotherapists, psychologists, psychoanalysts, Carl Jung. I have done a lot of work on his work. He says one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. This is exactly what he's talking about, all that I've discussed so far. So if you see in this New Age spiritual movement, it's all about divine beings of light and higher dimensions on fifth and 10th dimensions and God knows what. They're all forms of positivity, but ignoring the deeper consciousness problems. God sent, or the universe sent us here to live a messy human life and learn from it in these 3 dimensions and change our deeper consciousness, heal our deeper consciousness, not just the surface. So what is the solution to all this? Seems pretty complicated, but it actually is not once you start doing the right things. So the first step in healing is to become aware of our coping mechanisms. Very, very important. Coping mechanisms and our wounds. We need to become aware of them. Just simple awareness takes us huge steps forward. But what we try to do, especially in the Spirituality 1.1, what we try to do is to ignore all that. Say, okay, this doesn't exist. I'm now going to think about the divine beings showering light on me. Yes, that's great. But what about the deeper issues? They will come out, especially when you're doing self-work, especially when you bring in light in. These darkness will come out even more. And we don't want to see them. And that's where the issue becomes. So become aware of your coping mechanisms first. Ask the question, what do you run to? What do I run to when I feel afraid, lonely, or any other negative emotion comes up? Just that question is very helpful. What do you run to when you become afraid, when you become lonely, when you have any other negative emotions come up? What are you trying to do at that time? It could be something physical that you run to, or it could be something emotional that you run to. Imagine the number of addictions people have in this world. What is your addiction that you run to? Spirituality 1.1 is an addiction, believe it or not. We run to that addiction. That, okay, I'm feeling bad, let me visualize Archangel now. Archangel, sorry, not Archangel. Whatever your techniques are. There's nothing wrong with that. But you got to know that there is a flip side to it. Until you deal with that, you will not move forward. Right? So whatever your mechanisms are, become aware of them. How are you hiding your wounds? Food, alcohol, Netflix, anger, fighting with partner, overworking, service, helping others, pleasing others. You name it. There's just billions and billions of techniques we use to hide our deeper wounds. So remember, healing of the wound requires us to first become aware of the wound itself. If we cover up the wound too fast through fast instinctively through coping mechanisms, you will never become aware of her and never heal. And the more you suppress, the louder it will come out. Believe me, it will come out louder and louder. Just in that case of the woman who fell down and broke her spinal cord, it was just becoming louder and louder. The universe trying to say, okay, you can't suppress it, you can't suppress it, you can't suppress it. It's like reading the fine print. You can't see it, let me make it bigger. You still can't see it, let me make it even bigger. And it becomes really big, really devastating. 99% of the people, if they keep suppressing it, they will reach the hospital. Guaranteed. And it could be preceded by financial breakdowns, relationship breakdowns, but eventually it will take you to the hospital, emergency room. Because that's the ultimate pain that the human being cannot sustain too long. And so, my friends, start paying attention, my friends. It's not a joke. It's not a joke. It's pretty serious. I've been through all of that. Jesus, it's not pretty. Okay, so after you become aware of the wound and the coping mechanisms, you need to follow some of these steps. And let me, and this is, and we're going to practice this a little bit, but let's see how, let me give you an example. So there are 3 steps here: unconditional love, understanding and validation, wisdom and choice. These steps seem very simple, they are not. It requires tremendous amount of practice. So let's take an example. I'm assuming a lot of you are parents, right? Now, let's say your child, small child, comes crying to you. She's upset. Think about it. She's upset. She's crying. What would be the right way to help the child? Think. What would you do? Right? If you start saying stop crying, or I'll give you something to cry about, it's certainly not going to be helpful, right? It's going to damage the child forever. So step number 1, it's a very clear step. There's nothing ambiguous about it. You hug the child. You look at the child in the eyes and give a hug to the child. At this step 1, you cannot give any justifications, reasoning, talk to the child. You do not talk to the child at the time. Think about it. Think about it. Why talking at this stage, step 1, is going to be extremely harmful to the child. So the step 1 is unconditional love. You're accepting the child as the child is feeling right now. You're not judging the child, saying, oh, why you're crying, or even feeling that. Your heart needs to be absolutely open to feeling the child's emotions as the child is feeling. No judgment. If you start judging, even remotely start judging, you've lost the opportunity to help the child. The child will shut down, the child will not open up, and you have damaged the child for life. So this stage, you're building trust with the child. Now, step 2 is when the child is feeling a little better, then you ask the child what happened. Simple question, what happened? Nothing more than that. What is bothering her? With complete genuineness in your heart to understand how the child is feeling. Still, you continue maintaining 100% non-judgment, because child's emotions are child's emotions. It cannot be judged. It makes no sense to judge, because whatever the child is feeling is her reality. She has a right to feel that way. So the second step is about validating the child, what the child is feeling. And if you don't validate the child, you lose the trust with the child. Instantaneously lose the trust. Now, do you think this is enough? Step 1 and step 2? While this is very helpful, it is not enough. Helpful and necessary, absolute necessary. Step 3 is crucial for change. Now you need to take the opportunity, once you have brought some relief to the child and validated the child, you got to take the opportunity to help the child see the problem from a different perspective, from a mature perspective. This is how you help the child to learn and grow, to help the child make better choices. So as an example, I don't know, take any example, like let's say she's upset because one of her friends said something bad to her, called her stupid, let's say. So if for a mature parent, one way to bring her relief or understanding, better mature perspective would be, maybe that child who said this to her was projecting her own issues on the child. That it is not she is stupid, is the person who said to her who's feeling stupid, which is a big truth. We project what we don't like about ourselves. Right? Now, once the child understands this and accepts it, then you have helped the child for life. Then the child will not be affected for the rest of her life with what people tell her. This changes the child. Not just changes the child, it changes her destiny. If she was going south, she's going to start going north. By the way, how many of us got this kind of 1 step, 1, 2, 3? Forget 3, just 1 or 2 were missing. Actually, my parents were missing completely. Forget 1 and 2. Okay. So, unconditional love, step 1, understanding validation, step 2, wisdom and choice, step 3. This is how you change your life, your own life. Now, wisdom part is very difficult. 1 and 2 may still be easier to some degree. Even that is hard, but 3 is very tough. We don't know. We don't have the wisdom. We have blind spots that we don't know about. So one of the ladies, one client, she was raped when she was 7, and she has been trying to forgive the rapist for the rest of her life. Like she was 65-ish kind of a thing when she had a session with me. And I told her, you cannot use forgiveness. It's not the right wisdom for your case, for your individual case. Wisdom may be wonderful for somebody else. It is not right for you. There are better tools for you to heal. And when she started using different other tools that were more resonating with her, that were right for her, she started to heal very, very quickly. So I give the example that if you, let's say, want to go north and meet Santa Claus, and you don't have a compass or sense of direction, you start going east, how long will it take you to get to North Pole? Never, right? You'll keep going in circles. That is why a teacher is super critical who can help us for our individual journey. Remember, it's all about individuation now. And you can start to develop some of this on your own, but you also need help as well sometimes, or many times. I cannot do this on my own. I have to go to my teacher. My blind spots, I don't know. Okay, so accomplishing well-being is about going deeper and healing some of these emotional traumas, emotional issues. And that translates into changes in our identity at the deepest level. And if you remember, I provide these kind of services on my website. You can read about them. So I'm not going to go through them. But let me see if I have. And I'm actually also going to start doing a more detailed workshop on this process that we described. And I'm calling it a Orion healing process. And it's going to be another more advanced workshop. But it's going to go into more details as well. But I think the best thing to do right now would be to do one, at least one, to start with one example from one participant. So anybody would like to be the guinea pig, as I said, and I'll work with you right here, and I'll show you the process. It's pretty interesting process. You got to see it to believe it. It's not straightforward as just listening to the presentation. It needs to be experienced to some degree. Okay, my friends, anybody want to give it a try? It's worth a lot of money if you do a session with me. Okay, somebody's got their hand up, and I am not sure whose hand is that. Hang on. Yeah, Jody. Yes, Jody. Please unmute yourself and let's go for it. I'm assuming you're okay with doing the session.
Yes. Hi, Sanjay. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Jody. I'm doing very well. Okay, let me turn off this sharing 1 second. 1 second, my friend. Okay, all right. So we have everybody here. Okay, all right, Jody. Okay. Once again, I'm just trying to, with your permission, trying to tune into you, your energy field.
Okay.
You won't be able to do your video, would you? On?
The video?
Yeah. If not, that's okay too. That's okay too. It's not
I don't know how to do that.
Okay, don't
hang
worry
on. Oh, I see it. Start video.
Oh,
Okay, here we go. Hang on. Whoops. It went away. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm not real familiar with that.
No
Please
worries.
allow Zoom. Got it. Allow.
Oh, there you go.
Is it working?
It is working.
All right.
It's not necessary, but especially during this session, this time, because it's we need a the time is short. I think it's good to have that.
Sure.
Okay. All right. So Jody, what I'm going to ask you is to tell me what really bothers you these days. What is your main top of the priority issue for you?
Healing my physical health.
Okay. If you don't mind sharing what it is, or if you have concerns about privacy, don't worry about it.
No, I don't mind sharing. I have developed 4 autoimmune diseases. I'm sure it has a lot to do with the psychological and physical abuse I suffered as a child.
Okay.
So, and I'm very ill now because of it. I cannot work any longer. I'm in constant pain and fatigue. So I really don't have much of a life anymore. And I am not happy this way. I want to get healed and get my life back and be able to work and function and have a relationship and just be normal.
I'm sorry to hear, Jody. I really am. It is and it will be very tough to experience that kind of stuff. So this is the step one where I'm hugging you energetically.
Thank you. I love hugs.
Of course. Okay, Judy. Now, now, Jody, tell me how it feels to you emotionally. Bring up a feeling and an emotion.
I feel very hurt and betrayed.
So I want you to connect with this emotion of feeling betrayed and hurt. Is it both or is it one or they're the same for you?
They're the same.
Betrayed and hurt, or you hurt because of the betrayal?
Yes.
Okay. So what I'm sensing it is like if we want to use one word, I think it is hurt right now. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now give me a level number for this hurt, 0 to 10. How strong is that?
It's a 10.
Okay. Okay. Now, because you're going to be doing this a little bit on your own as well, while I'm doing with you as well, both we are doing together right now. But I want you to look in the eyes of this child in you that feels hurt. Okay, I want you to look in her eyes. Don't look any other way. Look in her eyes. Directly in her eyes. And give an unconditional acceptance that this is how she feels. There's no rights, no wrongs, nothing, right? I want you to experience her pain, her hurt. Experience it. And I know it'll be uncomfortable initially. Experience that pain, that hurt. You experiencing it?
Yes.
How does it feel to you? Hurtful?
Yes.
Any other emotion that comes in or anything comes in when you're hurt, feeling hurt?
Just that I want love. I don't feel that I'm getting any love. I'm getting the opposite.
Of course. So keep feeling that hurt of this child, okay?
Mm-hmm.
What's the level number now?
9.
Okay, reduced a little bit. Yeah. Keep looking at it. Right in the eye with love. Is just energy. This emotion of hurt is just energy. It's neither good nor bad.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to keep that in mind. Very important understanding and wisdom. It's neither good nor bad. Because the moment we put the label bad, we start to hide something.
Okay.
Keep looking, keep feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Stay connected with this emotion. See, it's lightening up a little bit. I can feel that. Where do you think it is? Level 0 to 10 again?
It's probably at an 8 now.
Okay. Keep feeling it.
Sending lots of unconditional love to her.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. But no sending of love required. You're validating this person right now.
Okay.
Validating.
All right.
Yeah, you're not going anymore.
Okay.
You're validating how she's feeling
Mm-hmm.
through understanding. Sending love can sometimes feel like we are trying to change that child. Relieve that child and change the child.
Uh-huh.
You've got to allow the child to have its experience
Okay.
with understanding, with compassion and understanding, not change. No change should be done at this time. It's very important. Just validate that, okay, you're feeling this way. It's okay.
It's okay. It's okay to have these feelings.
Yes. That's the critical part. It's okay to have the feelings. It's the judgment that causes us to start suppressing the emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Keep saying that to yourself, Jody. I think you need to focus on that it's okay to have this emotion.
Yes. Yeah, because I never felt it was okay to have those feelings, so I stuffed it down.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. How are you feeling now, Jody?
A little better, 7.
Okay.
I feel a little lighter.
Yeah.
Not so heavy.
Good. 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 This it just requires practice to stay so unconditionally non-judgmental about it. Keep telling it's okay. It's okay to have this emotion. You've got to keep telling yourself it's okay to have this emotion. There's nothing wrong with it.
All right.
See, we learned wrongs and rights early in society, earlier in childhood, and that's when we start to suppress things.
Sure.
Now, the next part, so I'm probably going a little forward right now, but usually I would like the person to reach at least a 3 before we move forward. But you can do a little bit of this on your time as well.
Okay.
So now let's do the next part, which is also very important. So the wisdom part, right? We need to reach you can go to wisdom only when you've validated to some degree and you've relieved the child a little bit. Now the wisdom part is, okay, Jody, by the way, there is a lot of anger in your consciousness as well, which needs to be dealt with separately. But it
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of anger.
quite a bit of anger actually. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that needs to be done through wisdom. I think what tools have we been using to heal the anger? Forgiveness or something?
Yes, I've been trying to forgive and, you know, yeah.
Forgiveness will not work for you, Jody.
Okay. Well, it hasn't worked.
You know, it will not work because it's not the right tool for you right now.
Okay.
So anyway, so should we work on the hurt, or is it now it become more anger that we want to work on? Do you feel
Let's go with the anger.
where is the hurt right now? What is I think the hurt is transformed into, or the anger is becoming more dominant now to me.
Yes, it is the anger. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, now we shift to anger then, because these are layered things. Okay, do the same thing again. Follow the process. Step 1, become aware. Become aware of the emotion. Give a level after that.
Yeah, 10.
Yes, I was feeling that. Okay, so 10 level of anger. This child has come with a level 10 anger to you. Do the same thing. Hug the child, love the child, hold the child, and tell the child, I love you.
Right. It's okay to be angry.
It's okay. Yeah,
It's okay to be angry. It's okay.
Yes.
It's okay to feel anger.
So from what I'm sensing, you were told that anger is not okay, right? When you were a child, probably?
Yeah, we're mostly told to just shut up and go to our room.
Yeah, same thing. Exactly the same thing, right? That is what it is, like you shut the anger down. Yeah, so that's what I was feeling energetically. So that's the mindset it got created. Anger is a bad thing. I cannot have anger, so I'm going to suppress my anger. Okay? So that's exactly what happened. That's what the whole presentation I've been talking about, exactly that same thing. We learn to cut off pieces of ourselves.
Right. Okay. Right.
And they will come out in the physical form. And believe it or not, the pieces you cut off are actually showing up in your physical body now.
Right. Okay. Right. So, yeah. Yeah, I'm smart enough to be aware that my emotional issues are what's causing my physical problems. Yeah. And that's why I'm reaching out to you for help. Good. Because I need help. And I've gone to regular psychiatrists and mental health workers off and on through my life to get help for these things. But unfortunately, none of them have ever been able to help me.
Yeah, they don't have the tools and the techniques.
Right.
Yeah, it's not possible for them to do it. Okay, all right. So stay with this anger thing.
Right.
Hey, I don't think you're at that stage where you can say anger is okay. You need to just first become aware of anger and stay connected. That's step 1. Just stay connected with it. Look in the eye of this child who's angry. Make an eye contact.
Yes. Yes, I see her. She's very mad, crying. Her face is all red. Her fists are clenched. Her jaw is clenched.
Yeah, very good. Very good, Penny. Yes, good job working this thing through. Keep looking at her. Keep looking at her. Now, I can feel it, and I'm sure you can feel it. there is a lot of energy to this.
Yes.
There's a lot of energy to it. This is all the energy that has been shoved down, stored inside. Okay. Is a lot of it in your belly area, possibly?
Yeah, my solar plexus.
Yeah. Okay.
That's where I feel, yeah, and my I have a lot of digestive issues.
Yeah, that'll do it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. So keep feeling it. Keep feeling it. Keep feeling it. She is very upset. I can see it. She is very upset.
Yes.
Very angry. Very upset.
Yes.
Hatred inside.
Yes.
She's hating the world almost.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's because when you're a child, you can't understand why your parent doesn't love you
Of course.
and tells you that they don't love you and that they wish they never had you, and all you are to them is a slave. And when you grow up, you can have kids and make them your slaves. So I chose never to have children because I would never treat somebody the way I was treated as a child.
Right. Of course. Of course.
That's how damaged I became.
Correct. 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 I agree. Okay. Stay connected. Okay, Jody? What's the level now, 0 to 10?
It's 9.
Okay. A little relieved. Okay. Okay. I think it's getting lower than that too, but yeah, it's okay. It's going to diffuse itself over some time. Okay. Now bring the wisdom and understanding as step 1 that you're angry. Tell me, what are you angry about, Judy?
That I didn't get any love as a child, that my mother didn't love me, and that she blamed me for everything.
There you go. Okay. So this is the step 2 part. That okay, you are acknowledging what the child is feeling.
Right.
Okay. Not just the emotion, but the reason behind it.
Right.
And you think it's reasonable, right, for the child to feel that way?
Sure. I think anybody would feel that way in that situation.
That's the acknowledgement that when you bring in for yourself is going to be at least helpful to some degree. Of course, I would feel that way. What were you told as a parent, as your parents told you, you should not feel this way, right?
Right.
And
just shut up, go to your room.
Exactly. That's just stupid. Anybody would feel the way that you felt. That's the validation part. You're validating that, yes, of course. Oh my God. Any human being will feel that way. That's the right way to feel. That's not the wrong way to feel.
Right.
How does that settle with you, Jody?
Yeah, it makes sense totally. I feel a little better. I feel like more at 8.
Good. That validation, a logical validation, it goes a long ways in healing the emotion. Of course, it'll be that way. It will feel that way. Better to some degree?
Yes, a little. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
The last part, the wisdom part. What is the wisdom in this?
Well, I'm not really sure. I guess I have to just love myself.
Yeah, before that, there's another piece of wisdom. That is, the wisdom is hard part. Remember, I told you that. Wisdom is not easy to get because we don't have a proper tool set to say, okay, this tool will work in this time. See, so far you've been using the forgiveness tool.
Right.
And that's not working. You need a different tool.
Right.
But if you don't have a whole list of tools with you, it'll be hard for you to apply the right one.
Right.
And that's where a teacher is very helpful, because I've built this tremendous amount of wisdom over the years, that and plus my capabilities to see you internally, that I can provide you a few options that you can try. So,
Okay, please.
yeah, one of the option is to bring in the wisdom and understanding that it actually is not your fault.
Right.
See, so far you've been assuming at a deep level that's your fault. That's your problem.
Right. Right.
See the implication of that. See, the parents, when they are angry at the child like that, the way you described, the parent is actually teaching the child to turn against its own self.
Right. I believe that. I can see that in myself. Yeah.
Your
That
consciousness
makes
went
sense.
turned against its own self because the parents kept telling you that it is your fault.
Right.
It's your fault that you're not loved.
Right.
So then essentially, in another way, they're telling the child, okay, this is your problem.
Right.
And what is an autoimmune disease, Jody?
Pardon me?
What is an autoimmune disease?
Well,
The body turning
they
against its
say
own self.
it's, I have like lupus and Lyme disease, degenerative joint disease, and rheumatoid arthritis.
No, yeah, but at a conceptual level, autoimmune is a disease that turns the body against its own self.
Right. Right. Right.
Right? So if you look at it from a consciousness standpoint, you learned to be against your own self.
Mm-hmm.
You were not for
Okay.
you, you were against you.
Okay.
And who did that? Who made that happen?
My mother.
Exactly, exactly.
She's the one that was awful. She was a total narcissist. I heard you say yours was too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But she was a very evil and hateful person. She should have never had children, in my opinion, because she destroyed all of her children.
Right. So that would relieve you from the burden that you're carrying, that the problem is with me. The problem is not with you. The problem is with her.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
That's the wisdom.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
You got to keep remembering it.
Right.
How are you feeling overall, Jody?
Better.
Better? Okay.
A 7.
Okay.
I feel a little lighter.
Yeah. You've been carrying this for so long, it'll take some time to unravel this.
Yeah. 60 years.
Yeah, 60 years, exactly. It's not a short time. So usually I give an affirmation as well, but to get to that, it may take more time. Think about what would be a positive affirmation that you can use to heal your deeper wound. So we have worked more, so we really haven't touched the core wound yet. And that does take a little bit more time to process properly.
Right.
But at least this is a good, very good starting point for you. Very important.
Yes.
Very good starting
Yes.
point. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah, I want to get better. I want to be able to release this anger, these emotions, stuck feelings that I have. I mean, I really want to heal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, if you need more help, you can set up a session as well with me sometime. But this is you got to keep working on these things. These are the deeper layers, and it is work. It is work. It's not an overnight thing.
Right.
But remember, it's the right work. You can be doing wrong work for eternity and not make progress. It needs to be done correctly. Okay?
Right.
All right, my
Thank
friend.
you, Sanjay.
You're
Thank you so much.
You're most welcome, Jody. Be well. Be well. You'll get well. Just do the right things.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I can try to do one more if somebody wants, or we can, yeah, hi, Sadia. You can unmute yourself.
Hello.
Hi, Sadia.
Hi, it's Saida.
Saida.
Thank you for. Yeah. I have an issue with my back.
Saida, did you attend the whole webinar, or did you?
I attended halfway through because I'm in the time zone is in middle of the night in Dubai.
Yeah, Saida, it will not help you unless you actually know the whole thing.
Okay. Okay.
Listen to my webinar. I'll send you the recording. Listen to it,
Okay.
and then I think it's going to be more helpful for you in that case.
Sure. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Does anybody else want to try a quick one, or we can just call it a day otherwise? Okay. If nobody else, or just unmute yourself and share anything that you would like to share, any questions or any clarification, anything. If there is anything you gotta have. Okay. If nobody has anything, let me just closing statement I can make. 1 second. Yeah, so okay, so some questions somebody's got. Hang on, how about if a person can visualize? I'm not sure what you're asking. What does visualization mean in this case? What are you visualizing is the question. Haas, if you like, you can come up online and ask a question. Yeah, I'm not clear of your question, Haas.
You told her to visualize being a child, and suppose she can't visualize this. Like I myself, I can't visualize anything. Like sometimes they say you visualize a light coming on your crown, head, and going down, something like that, and having difficulty visualize anything. I mean,
yeah, the visualization is just a tool. The key is to connect with the emotion. So the feeling is important. Just the mental part, like a visual part can be a tool to get to the feeling, but it is not necessary. If you can go directly to the feeling, I'm assuming you can feel the emotion, right? Or no?
maybe, yeah.
Yeah, the visualization is not critical. The feeling is.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, you got to go to the
All right, thanks.
feeling level.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, and this so eventual goal is to, let me share my screen. Wait, I haven't shared my screen yet. Okay. So the eventual goal is to certainly connect all these layers, but also change your identity. So healing the, where is those slide? That slide. Yeah, so healing the wounded identity, healing the coping identity. So like with Jody, we couldn't get to the real wounded I am and changing the wounded I am because of the time. But it's the wounded I am and the coping I am that need to shift so that your soul incarnation I am comes up. See, the soul is trying to manifest itself in this lifetime for a purpose. It came here for a purpose. And that's the ultimate goal of the soul, is to, if somebody has come here to create a beautiful painting, then that's what the soul wants to do. But the wound and the coping covers it up. It's not able to manifest the soul incarnation I am. The real treasure is in the soul incarnation. When your true gifts and talents really start to show up is when you feel tremendously satisfied and happy. All these issues and illnesses and stuff, they cease to exist when the soul incarnation I am really comes out. And I don't think there's a real shortcut to it. It is work, it takes time, it takes patience, it takes work. And the wounded I am is actually designed by the universe so that you fine-tune, you heal, and you become aware of your soul incarnation. It's part of the self-realization, but as an individual. Not about all this kind of, I don't know, the spirituality 1.1 talks about so much about oneness and whatnot, and that makes no sense. So we are already one. We are actually trying to blossom into our own individual self in this lifetime. That's what we are here for. Not to become cookie cutters again and become one with everybody else. So there are so many wrong ideas, lack of wisdom in spirituality 1.0 that is really sending people in circles. So people who really want to heal and really want to go to the next level, it is important to take the right path for you. And that's what we are here for. We have taken incarnation to heal our body, our consciousness from the debris and junk we picked up over many, many lifetimes. We have all done bad things, but we need to heal from all of the past and move forward into a better life. So it's a real blessing actually to be able to heal in this life and go to the next steps. So as I was talking a little bit, that there are 3 pillars of accomplishing well-being. One is patience, very important. Then self-work, and then support. These are the 3 critical pillars of accomplishing well-being. And the support, as I said, I do these 4 things on my website. You can read about them as well. I won't go into details here. So energy psychotherapy, for example, is a combination of energy and psychotherapy, which makes healing a lot faster, rather than just energy healing, which is not enough, and psychotherapy, which is not enough. And remember, I like I talked earlier, these 3 layers, where's that again? Oh no, sorry, several layers here actually. Yeah, these layers, okay. So if you look at it, the energy body is where most of these energy healing techniques work, right? And all they're all great, like Reiki and all these kind of things. They work on an energy body level. but they don't change your I am. So after you come out of an energy healing session, you're not that different person. You're the same person, but you have felt a little better, which is also important. The feelings layers or the emotional layer is all these emotional freedom techniques that people talk about. They are also useful, but they don't make a change in your consciousness. The emotions will come back. Mental body. Psychotherapy is a perfect example for mental body. They're trying to heal the mental body, but it doesn't heal any of the lower layers. And then the physical body. Your modern medicine heals the physical body. So all these healing techniques are important. No questions about it. We need them. But the real change happens when our identity changes. Once our identity changes, all the upper layers change. The energy body derives from the I am layer. It's not independent. So somebody is a doctor, you will feel the energy of that doctor. When he's walking around, he's talking. His words, his thoughts, they're all derived from the identity that I'm a doctor. Right? So my Lifetron healing is probably the only healing system in the world that works at an I am layer. It changes your identity layer. It does not change, even though it's energy, but it is actually designed to work at an identity layer. And it does take time. It's not an instantaneous change, because identity doesn't change overnight, but it is very permanent. Very, very permanent. You're a different person. When you go, the people who are on my Lifetron healing program, when they come out of the program or they're done and say, okay, I'm done, they're a different person. They're not the same person that went in. They're thinking, they're believing, their whole structure changes. Okay, my friends, I think that's all I had. If you guys have any other questions, certainly let me know. I'll stick around for a few minutes. What's this? Yeah, I'll stick around for a few minutes, but if no questions, I will call it a day. Okay. For Jody, okay, you guys are chatting with each other. Okay, good. Can get help.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure. Who's this?
This is Andrea.
Hey, Andrea.
So what are the options that you offer to change the I am layer?
Options in terms of what kinds of healing do I do?
Yes.
Okay. All my healing work, so that list I had, so energy psychotherapy is very helpful. Lifetron healing is very helpful for changing the identity. Those are the, and my webinars that I do, some are free, some are paid. Those three things are really helpful to move forward in life. But if somebody, so then the other two methods I have that I provide is miracle treatment and urgent care treatment. That is only for healing. That can also change it, but is mostly for, it's like somebody's got some very severe illness, to help them get stable and get back on their feet. So one of my clients, she has her son who was having seizures for the last several years, 12 years, 20 grand mal seizures every month. For 12 years, that's a pretty long time and a pretty serious issue. So she came to me for something called urgent care. And I did a treatment for her son, and within a single day, his seizures stopped. So that's a whole different program that is not designed for spiritual advancement, so to speak. That's
Okay.
more like the equivalent of modern medicine, but more in energetic terms. So
Okay.
those three are very important. Wisdom and understandings, my webinar, or the paid one, I'm starting at paid one, and then psychotherapy and lifelong. These are the three prime ones.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Anyone else by any chance? Sorry, I'm not too good at reading text and responding, but let me see if somebody has a question here. Jane? I think she, no, okay. I feel that it is a trap of victim consciousness to vilify those who abused us. Okay, no, good. Whatever works. Whatever works. Haas says, does Lifetron energy will help with these? Help with what? Sorry, Hose? Again, Haas, I am not sure if I got your correct question. So you're asking about, okay. Yeah, I'm not sure about your question, Haas, but if you want to come online and ask, that'll be fine. Otherwise, yes, I am done. But I'll stay here for a minute or two if anybody wants to come and talk. But otherwise, with the presentation, I'm done. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you guys joining me. I really appreciate it. I hope.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Ursula.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Sanjeev. Bye-bye.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Sanjay.
You're welcome, guys. You're welcome.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. You're welcome, Haas.
Thank you.
You are welcome, Evelyn. I'll send you the recording to everyone. Excellent. Okay.
Oh, this is Haas.
Yes. Yes.
I'm doing
Lifetron.
yeah, Lifetron energy, and it doesn't help me. It's still, I mean, it didn't help me actually.
How long have you been on it?
Maybe over a week. I mean, maybe almost 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah, also it can really depend on the person's background. If you had a lot of traumatic background, then it does take some time. And did things get worse for you initially?
No, it didn't get worse. No.
Oh, so the same. There's no change.
The same. Yeah, same. Yeah.
Yeah, it's possible because in most cases, it's like a seed, right? You have to plant a seed and it takes some time to come up. So the changes do take some time. And it really depends on how much of resistance. So not seeing the results does not mean the healing is not happening. That is for sure. The healing happens at subtle levels, the emotion, the more feeling behavioral levels. So if you notice maybe different behaviors, your behaviors might be changing. I don't know.
Oh, but my condition is physical. That's what I'm. Yeah.
Remember the whole.
It's a physical condition.
I know, but remember the whole presentation was about the physical generates from the lower layers, right? So until the lower layers are healed, the outer layer, the physical will not change either. That's the whole premise of this work. So when we start to heal the underlying layers by the time it comes to the physical, it can be a time delay. There is a time delay. See your physical issues.
But will this work on the under layer?
That is what it works on. That's what it works on.
Okay.
That's what it works on. But it can take time. It can take time. Imagine you put up a seed, it doesn't come out right away on the next day, right? It can take a week, it can take 10 days, it can take 100 days, who knows? But it does come out. If you take care of it, it'll come out. So the energy does work, always works. I really haven't seen many cases where, not many, no cases where it doesn't work. But how long will it take is very hard to tell. Very hard to tell.
Oh, it's hard.
Huh?
It's hard to figure out how much it takes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but you can do some session with me and stuff if you want to see it more directly of what's going on underneath the surface. But that would be a little helpful.
How is this session? How is this session is done?
Just over the phone or Zoom.
Over the phone?
Or Zoom.
Can you do it by email, or it
No.
has to be in person?
No email. No.
Oh, it has to be okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thanks. Yeah.
All right. You guys take care. Okay. Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye bye.
Sanjay, this is Huluf. You can hear me?
Oh yes. Who's that? Sorry.
On the Galaxy A20, this is Huluf. My name is Huluf.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yes. Hi.
Yeah, I have a question for you. In fact, I sent you a small note. Can I get benefit healing my entities? I think I have entities which are overwhelming for me in almost all areas of my life. Can your program help me to help heal that? Because I tried so many modalities, but I couldn't help because every night I get a download, like as if they are meditating and coming up with in different formats and personalities. So, how do you think about that?
Yeah. Did you listen to my whole webinar? Or
I did. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
I did.
Yeah. Good. No, I was just trying asking. Okay. Yeah. So there is no such thing as entities. First of all, it's a misconception in the spiritual community that there are entities. What happens is, so there is okay, I understand where they're coming from. Basically, these are different energetic and belief patterns that you picked up from somebody else. See, the entity is almost implies that it is a separate something outside of you that has entered your body, in that sense, like somebody else's soul coming into your body. Is that your understanding? Is that what you think about entities as?
Yeah, and that's
demon or demonic entity. Is that what you're saying?
I might not call them demonic, but some kind of negative patterns or negative thought patterns. I don't know in what form they exist, but like something which is interfering in the airwave, interfering in my consciousness.
Yeah, it is your own belief patterns and thinking patterns, mental patterns. There is no separate entity or energy outside coming from outside into you. It doesn't exist. But your mind can create such scenarios that, oh my God, there's an entity outside that is coming into me. It's a mental creation. That feels like something outside. It is not. It is within you. The reason I'm saying that is important distinction is when you put this thing outside on somebody else or something else, then you feel disempowered. That means you have no control over it. Okay. Right? You don't want to feel disempowered in your life. You have control over your life. And that is also a belief pattern that you picked up at a young age, probably, where you felt disempowered because your parents were not listening to you or you didn't have control over your life. But that is a disempowering idea. It is not true. You have control over your life, and that's how you gain back control over your life. It's a wrong.
Well, I'm glad. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm to hear that. In fact, from childhood, maybe it come, this energy could have come from birth. So I felt disempowered. So the definition of entities, of course, came when I started working with healing and energies. So that was not had this term had a life of maybe like 3-4 years since I said, oh, okay, this is what entities are. So, but otherwise, throughout I felt just fighting, and I could not give it a name. So I thought I found the name for it.
I agree with that. It makes sense. It makes sense what you're
I'm
describing.
glad I'm glad you told me it is something else, because that gives me a different kind of footing, in fighting it.
Yes, exactly. The more you see, that's part of the spirituality 1.1 that I was talking about. All these ideas of entities and stuff, they're incorrect, but they are part of the spirituality 1.1. And what I'm trying to take people towards is spirituality 2.0, which is a different paradigm altogether, where we become more empowered beings and not disempowered. And these disempowerment ideas, they started when we were young. We are young. The parents, the way they reacted to us, our being, we felt disempowered. We felt I'm helpless.
Yes, I get it. Okay.
Good. Very
Okay,
good.
thank
Nice
you,
question. Nice question.
Thank you, Sanjay.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
I have a session with you on the 26th, so I will be looking forward because you gave me a new vista to it.
That's the real point. You're right. To think differently. We've gotten, as a community, as a society, we've gotten stuck in old ways of thinking. And we really need to start thinking differently, and that's how we will progress.
Right. Thank you. Thank you,
You're
sir.
welcome. You're welcome, my friend. You're welcome. Okay, I'm going to hang up now. Going one, going twice. Bye-bye. Take care, guys.